Right, Ron. Yes, people, welcome back to Process. Today we're joined by a very special guest. It's a pleasure having him on the podcast. Josh Bridgman. Bridgman, God, I can't be, I always butchered your name. Josh Bridgman. Welcome to the podcast, mate.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, so if you don't know Josh, you need to get to know first of all, but Josh is a bodybuilder, online coach, YouTuber as well, and now he's obviously started his podcast, Bridging the Gap. So we'll talk a little bit about his journey, starting from maybe back when you were in school, kind of where your bodybuilding passion came from, where it kind of all started from.
Yeah, man. I always played sport, literally from a young age. Like my family is a sporting family, so I was kind of just pushed in that direction, but I naturally fell into that direction. So a lot of football, cross country, swimming, literally everything you can imagine I did. Literally tried to be a footballer for a very, very long time. And I think the overdoing of just one thing made me just literally 180 it and just say, no, I don't want to do it anymore. I played Chatham Town Youth, I played Aston Villa Youth, and it was 4 or 5 times a week, every single week for years and years on end. And I don't know if whatever my child mindset, I wish I didn't now, I would be a millionaire, maybe me, who knows. Yeah. But my child mindset and for whatever reason, I said, I don't want to do football anymore. Literally woke up one day and I was like, I don't want to do it. So started pursuing rugby. And in doing that, realized that there's a more physical aspect to rugby. So I needed a bit more size. Not that I trained for the size, just in doing rugby when you're younger, you got more explosive movements. You're kind of pushing people. So you're loading, technically. You're still loading. Yeah. You're loading a muscle more than what you would be in football. So I started to get bigger legs and started to go through that way. Then I got much better, and I played at Gloucester Rugby Club in the academy until under 17. So I played in the under 18s, but I was like 16. And then I got kicked out because they may have just been saying this. I'm still going to take it as they're saying this, but they said, you are not progressing physically enough. So I'm not big enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not, because I didn't enjoy the gym there. I'd go in and I remember I had 50 kilo on a bench press and I could barely move it next to these guys doing 100 kilo. I bet 15, 16 years old. And I didn't enjoy it. I went in there, I used to dread it. And yeah, I literally, I got kicked out for that. And carried on playing rugby, not really going to the gym too much until I went to the gym every now and again just to kind of get abs. Literally, that's what was in my head. Yeah. And then it wasn't until I went to university when I was 19, that was the first year where I kind of fell in love with YouTube and the fitfluencers, Guzman, Matt August, the old school. I don't know how old you are, but I'm 27. So they were the guys when I was growing up. Yeah. And I fell in love with what they're doing. Christian Guzman started doing his summer shredding, competing. My Ogre started competing. And I thought, what's this competing stuff? It looks amazing. And I just I really only trained to kind of get bigger and kind of get a whatever arbitrary number on a bench press. I want a 140 bench. I want a 180 deadlift. That's all I kind of thought about in my head. And then one day, a flyer was put in our local gym or in our university gym, and it was for Mr. University. So I was, my ears pricked up. It was about 5 weeks away from when I saw the flyer, and my friend managed to convince me into doing it. Yeah. So I kind of I took that leap and just thought, you know what, let's try it. And I fell in love with it from then.
Yeah. So going back, it was interesting. I didn't realize you used to play football as well. So that's kind of my background, football. So when you was at 14, 15, you kind of stopped playing. Do you feel like because you were playing so much, and I know it's like the academies and stuff, do you feel like because you were training so much and it took away from your social life that you maybe that's kind of what pushed you from falling out of love? Well, I don't know how much you enjoyed it kind of thing. Yeah. Do you feel like it did push you kind of away from it?
You know what? I honestly don't know why it pushed me away from it. I still managed a pretty good social life. I've always been a relatively social person until I started bodybuilding, and now I'm much less sociable. So yeah. I don't think it was that. I don't think it took me away from what I wanted to do. I don't think I think it may have just got too much, and I was just focusing on one thing so much that I just overdid it. If that's even a thing, there's so many factors to that, right? How was I coached? How my parents influenced me? Did my parents push me too hard? My mom was always very pushy on football and whatnot. So maybe that was just my, me kicking back and stuff,
Yeah, I think a lot of kids are it's not as if they're pushed into it, but it's almost especially in England, right, in Britain in general, it's the automatic thing, right, I'm going to go and play football. And I think maybe lads get, a lot of lads get to that I know, 15, 16, who I know are really good players, but they're just either go out and it's when alcohol gets like started and drugs and stuff, and they kind of go down that route, or they maybe lose interest and find other things. But I do think the amount of training and stuff that the young lads get put into kind of, because it is, I remember 6 week holidays. I never used to have a 6 weeks holiday at like 15, 16, just because we'd be in, I don't know if it was the same with you. Like when we got any holidays, you were in training quite a lot.
Same. Yeah. Literally, like when holiday season was just training season, you just train more.
Yeah, I know, which I think,
remember it well.
I talked about it in a previous podcast with someone. It kind of like limits you to what you can do outside of football as well, because it just like your whole life. So like if you love football, it's great, but if you've got other interests and stuff, it does limit you. So talking a bit about starting YouTube, I looked back before the podcast, a few of your old like first videos. It was like 6-7 years ago when you first started.
Literally 6 years. It's crazy how long ago it is.
Yeah, it's mental. So just kind of what made you kind of want to start YouTube?
Those Fitfluencers literally did. I started YouTube to be someone else. That was the goal. Like I went into YouTube to be Christian Guzman. I was like, that guy has the life I want. I'm going to do that. Wasn't necessarily the right decision, like the right way to go into that, because I didn't necessarily find my YouTube identity or my social media identity for a few years down the line, because I was just trying to emulate people. But that was it. Like I wanted to live that lifestyle. I wanted to get paid to go to the gym, like very superficial. I wanted to, there was no like, I want to help people in it. Unfortunately, that's the reality of it. I was just like, I want to be these guys, right? But then once you get a sense of, when you got a couple of thousand, maybe you've changed a few people's lives, and you kind of get that feedback from them. You get that like, oh, this is the true purpose of what these guys are doing. They're not doing it for this to be YouTube influencers. They're not doing it to be millionaires and alpha elite. They're not doing it for that. They're doing it because they're changing lives. And then once I started realizing I was sort of doing that, it was almost like a light bulb moment. And I was like, oh, I can do this now. I can be a movement. I can change people's lives. I can change hundreds and hundreds, thousands of people's lives. And that's where that's where me came out. I think that's where like the real me came out.
Yeah, I think because a lot of people do start like quote unquote bodybuilding, like you've started YouTube and stuff it's almost like an internal ego thing, because that is why the majority of the reason why like I started going to the gym a little bit more was a little bit football wise, but also because you want to look good kind of thing. It is very egotistic, but then when you can start helping people and stuff, maybe in the gym somebody might come up and ask some question, oh, like how did you get so big, how did you do this, and you give them that advice, and then they come back a few weeks later and said, oh mate, I tried this really helped me kind of thing. That's probably what like start it, and you get that like buzz off it.
Exactly, that same thing. Just like you get that slight ego trip of, and you know what? Like I know like people say ego is the enemy, and you get rid of your ego. Like I'm a big believer that a bit of ego is quite healthy, because 100%. It keeps you competitive, it keeps you motivated, it keeps things moving. It's got to be the right type of ego, right? It's not going to be like some arrogant, I'm better than you type ego, but actually, oh, you got it good, I'm going to work that hard too, so I'm better than you type thing. Like that innate competitiveness in terms of ego is quite healthy. So that's kind of, I think initially that physical superficial, like I want to be big, I want to look better, but that gives you confidence, and you walk into a room and you're not the skinniest, smallest guy, which is what you were thinking about before. You're actually a bit fuller, a bit, you think, you know what, I've got something that I can offer people, and that you don't even realize when you're starting bodybuilding. You're just like, I want to get a bit bigger, but then you get these benefits of having more confidence, which actually makes you less arrogant, because you don't need to be arrogant to compensate for anything else, because you're just confident, and you're like, you know what, I know what I'm talking about. If you want the conversation, we want it. If not,
100%. So what was your training? I want to be interested to look like, what was your training when you first started bodybuilding? Was it just the stereotypical
high rep warrior? High rep warrior. I just had that. Well, it's like the same philosophy, but like I was looking to destroy that muscle until I couldn't lift the weight again. So it was a minimum of 3 or 4 sets, minimum of like 3 or 4 drop sets and everything, and just not as tactical as where I am right now, obviously. But I still grew. I still got strong. I still, like, despite all the crazy volume I did, I still got to a 140 bench, by 22 years old, 23 years old when I was natural. Like, it's still made that progress. So is when the argument comes up, oh, high volume or RPE, or high intensity, low volume. It's just like, well, I've done them all and they all work. So pick the one that you like the most.
Yeah, because you have the more high intensity approach. There is a lot of different, like Matt August and stuff. He's very much about the kind of people like longer, reps and reserves and all that sort of stuff. So Yeah, so there is so many different types of training. It's just whatever you enjoy. Like you talk a lot about like the mindset and mentality you have, like putting 100% into that one set. That kind of suits you better because of your
Exactly. Yeah.
mentality. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's a big thing. What are some of the things that you kind of wish you could say to like even yourself or just like young bodybuilders starting, like maybe 3 or 4 things that when you're starting off that you wish you'd done yourself?
I wish I'd asked more questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not like I've always been pretty rubbish at confrontation, and like that like the anxiety thing that you're talking about earlier. Like,
Yeah, we'll touch on that.
it's like I had like when I was younger, and I probably should have mentioned I had like performance anxiety. So I really struggled to perform on a big game or a
Mm-hmm.
new environment or a new person, even down to the takeaway Friday. Josh, can you just call the Chinese? Yeah, I don't want to talk to a stranger on a phone, like that type
Yeah,
of anxiety. So I would have said like just ask more questions, because in asking those questions you learn that you're only going to be right or you're going to learn something,
mm-hmm.
and there's no really like there's no real issue with being wrong. Like I'm
Yeah,
wrong every single day. It's
uh-huh.
just that I was always afraid to be wrong. I was always afraid to ask a stupid question. I was always afraid to question why someone would do something even though it didn't make sense, and I'd carry on doing that thing that didn't make sense because I wouldn't question it. So
Yeah,
for a long time, I was like, why would I not do 17 drop sets on my biceps? It doesn't make sense not to do that.
yeah,
Without asking the question is, what if I'm really tired for the next session? What if I can't lift my arms the next day? I didn't want to ask those questions in case I got an answer that I didn't want to hear,
yeah,
because I was afraid of, for whatever reason, that insecurity in being wrong.
yeah. So talking a little bit about your anxiety and stuff, where do you think it stemmed from originally, or do you think you were always just quite a shy person? But like, obviously, like now
Yeah.
you can tell you're a completely different person to back when you obviously talk about this anxiety. When do you think it stemmed from and started?
I do often think about it, um, because I can't help think that life would have been very, very different. But also, I'm very appreciative to where I am right now.
Yeah.
I was like, without short of the ego thing coming back in, I was really, really good when I was younger. Like, I was the kid who was the best on every single team, no matter where I went.
Mm-hmm.
Football, rugby, cricket, like all those things. I just was good at sport, and when it went from a school level to a club level, it was the same. But as soon as it came to a county trial, as soon as it came, like I swear, this is hindsight, right? Everyone always says this. Back in my day, I could have done this. I feel
Yeah.
like I could have played for England, man. Like I was left-footed, I was tall, I was fast, I was lean, I was skillful. But as soon as I got to a county trial, as soon as I got to when I played for Gloucester Rugby, I played against England once, England under 18s for the under 16s. I played all these teams, and every single one of those games, I choked. I just choked. I couldn't, for whatever reason. I had this pressure across my chest that just didn't allow me to think straight. I remember one time I played on the wing. I'm the
Yeah.
last person on the side. I grab a ball and I just fling it to my side, and I know there's no one there because I'm
Yeah.
just not thinking straight. I'm panicking, and I'll never forget that moment. That was against England as well, and that was where my rugby career was just like, fucked it. Um, yeah, I honestly don't know where it stems from. Maybe I put the pressure on myself to perform for my parents. Maybe I put myself. I always had people around me say, "Oh my God, look at that left-footed kid. He's this, he's that."
Uh-huh.
Because I could, I was like G Bell, Gareth Bale back in the day.
Yeah. Absolutely
Um,
fine.
yeah, literally. But I could never perform. And then you know what? The next day I'd go back and play for my club, and I was amazing again. And then once you've flopped one or two times, it's in your head that I'm gonna flop again, and that performance anxiety got
Yeah.
worse. It got worse. It got worse, and it got worse.
Uh-huh.
And that led into more anxieties in my life. That fear of new surroundings, that fear of new people. So when I went to uni, I couldn't go to lectures. I missed one lecture, and I thought, I can't go to another lecture. They're going to judge me for not going to the first lecture. And I didn't go to two. Then I'm like, I can't do it because I've missed the first two. And it was this horrible cycle of just being anxious about what everyone thought all the time. And
Yeah.
that's like from uni. That's where it stemmed from. Performance anxiety at school. And I couldn't put a finger on where that came from, other than assuming the pressure I put on myself, my parents push on me, and
Yeah.
the coaches and stuff.
It's crazy. It's crazy hearing that though, because like you look at you now and stuff, and you're doing YouTube talking in front of a camera, podcasts and stuff. You're constantly
Yeah,
speaking to people, like you do. What do you call it? The expos and stuff, like speaking to people constantly and stuff. You seem like fine. But it's interesting because I feel like I've had a similar sort of story in terms of when I was younger, I was always great at athletics, great at football kind of thing. And then it got to when I used to play for Newcastle United. It got to like that level and I kind of wasn't as like an extroverted person in that scenario. Like I was very much in school and stuff with the people that I've been around with for years. And I went into that scenario and I did kind of feel like it took me probably until the last year at Newcastle for me to actually come out my shell. And then the same sort of thing with that performance anxiety, like look at you now and stuff and you're completely different. But when you're going into that scenario where it is a high pressure situation, like in football, where there is a lot of pressure on you, like I've had it the same where you do things in games that you would, in training or in like a practice match, you just wouldn't do. It's just like your mind's either like not there. You just like your mind goes elsewhere, and then you make a mistake. Like I've let a ball. I'm a goalkeeper, so I let a ball go from my legs, which was like the most simple collection pick up in like you could ever think of. But it was a big game. It was at the stadium. The first team manager was watching, and then things like that happen. And then it's always at the back of your mind. So the next game, you're like always thinking about it. But I think like your kind of thing, like continue. I think it might just take that one time that it goes well and you do something right, and then you kind of build that momentum again. And it kind of snowballs. Like it's snowballed one direction, then one good thing happens, it can snowball the other direction. So when do you think it kind of? Could you talk about one of your podcasts, like you flipped the switch for whatever reason? What do you think? When was it, and kind of what do you think flipped that switch?
I know flip the switch sounds very like black and white and woke up one day and flipped the switch. It was definitely like a switch that gradually kind of like was working its way down to on.
One of the turny ones that you can turn the light on.
Yeah, that's there. It's a dimmer. It was a dimmer. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It was a small light and now it's a bright one. So nothing big happened in my life for that to stop. And I think for some people that something big happens and it like some, whatever it is, and it makes you, brings you to reality and it makes you realize that problems aren't that big. I've not really had anything huge happen in my life or significant that could have caused a big change like that, other than just meeting my friends who were super open-minded from loads of different cultures, realized that there's a lot of good people out there, and actually people generally have good intentions. It's very, very few people that have bad intentions. So there's not much to be kind of afraid of. But I couldn't get rid of my anxiety until like after uni. So what was that, 2024, 25, probably till I was about 25. So that's only a couple of years ago back until I could really get a good control on it. And I sort of just immersed myself in positivity and like quote unquote gurus about mental health, business, getting your life on track, life coaches. And I just listened to all their podcasts and I listened to how they think, and I thought, I'm going to have to just try it. So I just literally started trying to be super positive. I started putting steps in my business. I started working towards an actual goal, and sort of just found a purpose in doing something, because I was just idly I was there for a very, very long time. I was just there and not necessarily working towards anything. I was like, okay, I'm supposed to go to school now. I'm supposed to go to university now. Now I need to get a job, just because that's what life tells you to do. Do you know what I mean? And I was super scared about every single step until, man, I just literally listened to like Gary Vee. Like I listened to Gary Vee like religiously, and I not anymore, but I did back in the day. And I fully bought into his idea, and I fully jumped into his mindset. Shut the fuck up and let's fucking go then. I did, and it worked. Like it worked. And now I can appreciate parts of him, and also parts of him which were a bit crazy. But man, that was literally it. It was nothing special. It was literally just listening to Gary Vee.
Just shouting at you, like hustle and stuff like that. Just like shouting at yourself. It's interesting though, because it is like they always say, like the 5 people surround yourself with, like they're the ones that influence you the most, kind of thing. But it doesn't have to be like an actual physical person. Like it could just be someone. 100%. If you're a very like intrinsic person, you don't like speak to a lot of people and stuff. It can be like the people you watch on YouTube or the people you listen to in podcast wise. Like I was the same, like watching yourself, Tom, podcast wise, a lot of mindfulness sort of stuff. That's like looking at myself even like 3-4 years ago when I started listening to podcasts and watching YouTube and stuff. Like my mindset's changed a lot because of the people that I watch, not so much the people that I was surrounding myself with. Because in football, like I don't think it's a very much there is one or two individuals that are quite mindful and stuff. You do get the odd kind of like wiser kind of people, but a lot of footballers are just they aren't very switched on in that certain stuff. I think at the higher level it's obviously a little bit different, but like I can even say myself, like stuff like that, like YouTubers, podcasters and stuff have changed my mentality, and kind of you're seeing them do all this stuff and then they're talking about, like you talk about your anxiety and stuff, now you're doing all this. It kind of shows me that, all right, I might feel like this now, but somebody who's at the top of the game was also feeling like this at one point, and then just got to do things and just kind of, it'll snowball and progress. And
I agree. I think that's why it took me so long to even change my mindset, because I didn't do the internet. Well, I say do the internet, that's such an old person thing to say. I didn't like watch much YouTube. I didn't know what the feeling across my chest was. I didn't know what anxiety is. I just heard it in passing. I didn't know what it felt like. I didn't realize I'd been having it. But now with social media, you get people talk about it all the time, and you've got idols on social media. And like you said, that's a really, really good point. Like the 5 people that surround you, they don't need to be your best mates. They don't need to be your girlfriend, your mum. They can be people that you just look at online, right? It's like there's a big thing at the moment that people are just saying, get rid of the people that you just are toxic on your timeline. Get rid of those people who are just chatting this and chatting that. It's not worth investing your day into. You know, and just curating what you're looking at can really, really have a big effect as well.
Yeah, definitely, because you can tell like you've got a decent little set, obviously with Joe. You've got the podcast with Joe and Tom as well, kind of thing, like them sort of people. And then you talk about AJ Morris kind of thing, which is interesting. A little topic to move on to is social media. You said you kind of looked at what he was doing, and he was like 19 or something, 18, 19 when he started, and what he was doing, putting out content. You looked at what he was doing, and you almost copied it, but put your own twist on it, which I think a lot of people these days, they're worried about doing that because they're gonna feel like someone's gonna say, right, you're just copying that person. Like, if it's working for them, like they're obviously doing something right. So, what's your kind of opinion on that? Obviously, with mine.
I think that for a very long time with my social media career, I didn't really do anything new at all.
Yeah.
I didn't invent any way to post something. I didn't think about how this would look cool. I just went, I quite like to read things like that, so I'm going to do that as well.
Yeah.
And then like as you kind of go through the process, you can obviously get a little bit more specific. But like in terms of AJ, like I messaged him as well. I said, I'm going to copy you exactly. I should find that message one day. I said, I'm going to copy you. I just admire what you do. I'm going to copy it. Do you mind? He's like, nah, not at all. And for me, like, if you want to get into a space, it's about finding the trend. It's about finding what people look for. It's about being relevant. And it's about making things look nice. And there's only, like, social media has been around for a very long time now. There's only so many ways you can make things look nice. It's going to end up being the same as someone else's eventually, right? So just, you can skip the bullshit learning process by just learning from someone else. Like, it's easy. You know, why would you go the long way around because you don't want to copy someone? I mean, you copy them because you emulate, you admire them, you're trying to emulate them. It should be flattering to someone else, you know?
Yeah.
People invest in me for me. People invest into AJ for AJ. If they see the same piece of content, they're going to be people that say, I want to hear it from AJ. I don't want to hear it from Josh. And they're going to be people vice versa. So putting your own spin on things, making it unique to you.
Yeah.
And then eventually, like after, what has it been, 6-7 years, you're going to understand what people click on more, and you're going to understand what people enjoy the format more. And then you just do it again, and you can get the feedback again, you know?
Yeah, it's just like trial and error, isn't it, really? Because you'll try one thing and it won't work. Like I've had things that just haven't worked whatsoever. Like I tried to do a competition giveaway thing. I just did the way I did it was completely wrong, and I literally had like 2 people that like were interested. I was just like, never mind that. I'll scrap that one. And the next time I done one, it was a bit more of a success. Like
exactly,
you're gonna
it's all about.
Gonna make stuff. So talking about your success in terms of YouTube, when do you think, was there like a pinnacle video or like moment where it obviously took up? Obviously, I know you've been doing it a long time, so it's always going to be a gradual progress, but do you think there was a moment where it did kind of start to progress a bit faster?
So in terms of it's just natural progression, right? It's just natural progression. Like you start off pretty rubbish, then you just get better, then you just get better, then your minimum is pretty good. Like your minimum is like, the videos I can put together in a couple hours, like they're pretty good. I'd say the only thing that made things move faster was when I said, this is my job.
Yeah.
That was the only difference. I think that's the only time when things would pick up, because I've been, like you said, this is 6 years. It's only 30. I know it's a lot of people for a lot of people. It's only 38,000 people that follow me on Instagram. I appreciate there's a lot more than most people, but there's millions out there, millions, hundreds of thousands, especially in the fitness industry as well. So like in the circle, it seems like I got a lot, but in the actual industry, it's not a lot. For how long it's been 6 years of like consistency. But yeah, as soon as I said to myself, this is a job, this is gonna be paying my bills at some point, is when I actually went, okay, let's stop just fucking taking your phone out and click on a photo and then putting it up. Let's get some really good photos. Let's really put the information in concise, and let's actually sell yourself, like do it properly, give people what they want to hear, and provide the value that you want to give. And that was when more progression happened, but there definitely wasn't a defining point.
Yeah,
still on that ladder, man. I'm only like a quarter of the way up on the ladder.
Yeah, it's a long process, and I think now with YouTube as well, I think when you fit, like if you were back in the Guzman days or the Overskate days, I think even if you put a half decent video out, you were gonna do all right, kind of thing. And I think now, like I've started YouTube stuff, and it's just it's so hard. Like I don't know if you do need like that one viral video just to get your face out there, kind of thing, and then people to come in. Like the gradual process will probably it took you like 6-7 years to get to the point you're at. Like if you're starting up now, it's probably going to take like 7, 8, 9 maybe. Depend unless you get that video.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. That's what I say. I said there's a few ways that you're going to make it. It's either going to be very, very lucky with a viral video, or you've been doing it for like 10 years. Like literally, I was like, you're gonna get that lucky break, or an amazing collaboration with someone, right?
Yeah.
I collaborate with Guzman, I get 20,000 followers. 20,000 on top of 30 makes 50, already exponentially growing. And it is exponential, right? From the time it takes to get to 0 to 500 is about the same as it takes to get to 1 to 2,000. So it like exponentially increases as you go.
Yeah, no, it's just got to, like, why I call the podcast process, because you just got to literally trust the process. And I think because if you enjoy something that you do, like I'm enjoying podcasting, YouTubing and stuff like that, it's been a very, very slow, gradual process. But I think if you do enjoy it, you're going to do it long term. And then I think if you put your mind in the right place, you're going to kind of grow anyway. Like no matter how long it takes, like it might take me 20 years to get there. I might be old and grey still on YouTube and have 1,000 followers, but then the next month I might be on 200,000. You never know what can happen.
Exactly, you never know.
Yeah, never know, mate. So moving on to a little bit about social media. Do you kind of plan out your content maybe in a diary, or is it kind of just you make stuff up as you go, kind of thing? Maybe you do a session and there was a point in the session you're like, oh, I should do a little post on this kind of thing. Do you kind of periodize and plan them all, backlog them?
Yeah, so I'm definitely not like a huge planner in myself. I'm a very unorganized person. Yeah. I've got like I have notes, right? Obviously everyone's got notes. I have podcast, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. And every single time there's any idea or I see a post that I like, I just write down what that is. Mm-hmm. So then I've got like a library of topics that I can go to if I need to. YouTube is a little bit more structured. I know that I want to get a video every 3 to 4 days. So I have a few videos like in advanced topics already down. Things like Instagram though, like if there's like something that's really relevant at the moment, if there's a topic that just takes precedent over the other topics that I've got, like talking about protein can wait a week. If there's something big that's come up in the news, you can talk about that. You can jump on that. Like I do like spontaneous posts, I'd say 50% of them are probably like spontaneous. Like I can just be sat there and thinking like, what's relevant? What do I want to talk about? What value can I give? And also over the years, since I've been doing this full time, so 18 months, I'm in that habit of thinking, I would probably want to watch this if someone was watching my story, right? So people interested in what I eat, let me just snap the food. Let me put the calories, the macros, this. People want to know how I do upper chest work. I'm going to put the lines in. And I've got that habit of thinking I can make some value out of this post throughout my day. So I've kind of got in that habit of things. But nothing's like massively planned, to be honest. I know like, I know some people that plan really, really advanced, like Tom. So Tom has like a full schedule, timeline. And that's the type of person he is, I'm not that type of person.
Yeah, I'm probably similar to you, because a lot of mine, I have kind of like backlog, especially over lockdown. I've had a little bit more time to myself, kind of thing.
Yeah.
There was a period where I was doing that, but a lot of the time I was ended up making posts on the day, just putting it on. And then these ones I've still got like 2 or 3 which I haven't posted. I've had them sitting on my phone for like 2 months, kind of thing. Like you said, a lot of things that become relevant at the time, you'd rather just put them out, which I think is one of the reasons. Like talking about interaction with followers, like you might only have what, 30,000-40,000 followers on Instagram or whatever, but you, Tom, that kind of like, I say, little group of people that all have the similar like high interaction, even though they've got like, I know a lot of people in fitness who know you, they know Tom, they know Joe, they know all that JJ and all that sort of group, but they might not know someone who's got like, you see them who've got like 750,000 followers. Like there's people I see on Instagram and fitness people who I've never heard of in my entire life, but everybody kind of knows that. What do you think is there any sort of like, you can't really see there's one key thing that helps that? What do you think kind of helps you achieve that?
I think first and foremost, it's going to be just the realness, right? It's just like, I'm just going to be myself, because it's actually very exhausting not being yourself. Like I've done that for the first 2 years on YouTube when I was trying to, hey guys, what's up? It's Josh Bridgman here. How you doing? I'm just too joking. I'm not that type of person, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's like, I think with us, like that group specifically, it's like, it's taking complicated information and making it really easy to digest for nearly everyone. It's being pretty, well, I would say like pretty just normal. Like we are just normal people. We try and be ourselves all the time. There's not much things, if anything, that I can think that I've like hyped up over what is actually me as a person. I don't think I've ever done that. Same with those guys. I had a point in my head, it's gone. And just being like relatable, I think. Like I think it's and this will probably be something that we do face, hopefully we face when we get to 250,000 followers, hopefully. Is being relatable, right? Like, because at the moment I live with my mum, I'm trying to buy a new car, I'm making my food out my mum's thing, and my mum's just gone shopping for me. Like I'm just your regular dude, like 99% of the people follow me. But when it gets to the point where whatever, I'm Guzman and I've got my R8 on the drive, it's harder to relate to those people, right? Even like of course, if you've been through the journey with them, you can appreciate it. And Guzman's obviously super humble, so it's pretty easy to follow him still. But being relatable, being just a normal dude, and I think people can just see themselves in us, and just, you know what, we're just a bunch of lads having fun, and we're doing what we love every day, and I'd like to think that people can just relate to that.
Yeah, you are all quite down to it. The same with, I spoke to you and Jack Thorburn. Like I think he's a funny guy.
Yeah, Jack's really nice.
I know there's a lot of like mixed, like there's a mixed bag of people who obviously don't like him and stuff in the industry, but I think I like his Instagram stories and his posts.
Those people.
Yeah, I know. Fuck the haters. But he's funny. I think he's funny. But you can, like, literally what you see on Instagram stories and stuff like that is what you get in real life. Like,
yeah,
and then you
that's
probably
what I
see,
like to think.
yeah, then you see a lot of the people who have got maybe the millions of followers, or the class is almost like celebrities, and they're probably like they're the type of people that sell those fake, the shakes and stuff that are gonna make you lose fat and all that sort of stuff. Like they're promoting fakeness, so you can't really.
Yeah, I'd like to think that they're losing value. I feel like maybe it's because it's the people that we follow and the people we surround ourselves with that we think that side of the fitness industry is getting smaller. It might not be, because we're not really in that side of the fitness industry.
Yeah.
But I'd like to think that people are getting called out for the shakes, the fat loss injections, the whatever, here's my 12-week reduced plan from $200 to $50. I'm like, what's going on here? Yeah. They're just trying to get clicks and money in. And I'd like to think it's getting, I don't think it is, but I'd like to think it is in England at least.
Yeah, I think it is over here, because I see a lot of like even smaller like YouTubers or Instagrams and stuff. They're exposing, like obviously the likes of yourself and stuff, always sharing stuff, but a lot of smaller ones even exposing like the big ones. Like I can't remember who it was, but it was somebody who, I can't say it was a Gymshark athlete, but it might have been. I swear it was like either a pillow workout or a pan workout. I can't remember, like something like stuff like that, or like there was somebody I know who was promoting a protein shake, like a weight loss protein shake, and saying, "Oh, this is what I was doing to lose 30 kilograms." Well, I can't remember how much it was, but I actually know who the personal trainer of that person was, and they didn't get any credit for it whatsoever, which is the thing. Like, but I've seen loads of people sharing the stuff on social media and stuff, exposing them. So I think it is getting a lot better in terms of that sort of stuff.
It's hard though, right? Imagine someone says, I'm going to pay you 10 grand if you say this.
I know.
And that changes your life.
Yes.
Changes your life.
Yeah, I know, mate.
It's
Especially
very, very difficult.
if you've never had access to that money like that before.
It's crazy. Or maybe that's your only job and you just do one of those posts a month and you get 10 grand a month. It's
Yeah,
like,
I know.
it's like until you stop rewarding that behavior, you're not going to stop it, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I
You
guess
see these guys with like 2 million followers and they're getting 10,000 likes. I'm like, there's something wrong here. Like, appreciate it's 5 times more than me, but you've got 100 times the followers. So what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just those, I don't like saying the word sheep, but it's those like just people who are just very passive and they just believe what happens on the screen is real.
Yeah. And I think it's a lot of people like people like that, like people just follow them because of who they are kind of thing. It's like, obviously you can't really say the same thing, but people follow like The Rock or Conor. Like, you can't really say Conor McGregor because people do follow them for the content, but you see people like that, they just follow them for actual following them. Whereas people like who follow yourself and Tom and all that, like we follow them because of the content and stuff, and we kind of follow your journey, which is why you've got such a high interaction, which I think as well. But do you feel like there's a lot of pressure on you, obviously being such a big influence on a lot of people's lives? Like you do have a big influence on a lot of people's lives, and a lot of people kind of look up to you and stuff. Do you feel a bit of pressure yourself?
Yeah, like in short, yeah. I definitely kind of came into this with like, I remember one time someone said, you need to be careful. I said something that may, whatever, standard shit could have been misconstrued by someone. And they messaged me and they said, you need to be careful what you say. You're an educator. I went, no, I'm not. I just post things on the internet. And he's like, no. Like, whether you like it or not, people are going to read this and educate themselves from it. So you got to be careful. And I was like, but I didn't, in my short reply, I was like, but I didn't sign up for that. That's not my problem. Well, actually, no, it is, because this is what I signed up for. Like, I am an educator. So whether I want to be or not, I am an influencer, whether I want to be an influence on people or not. It's just what happens when you're in this position. So you get that pressure of, even more now with the political climate that we're in, you've got a pressure to say something, but then if you say something, you've got the other, because you got the pressure on that side of saying you shouldn't have said this. So there's a lot of pressure in terms of how I say things. So I definitely think about what I say a lot more, rather than just be like, this is me, whether you like it or not. It's more like, no, is this like, who's going to read this the wrong way? I try and make things very, very clear, because you haven't got a choice. It's this, you've just been dealt this card as part of the social media, the social media life. But I also got a lot of pressure to perform in bodybuilding and in like in everything. Now that people have followed this mindset that I have, and I kind of put it out there, people only expect that now, right? So when I have a day where it's, or a week or a month, because it happens. And in fact, the month before quarantine, I was like this. I just was a bit, I'm tired. Because that's real life. That's real shit. Like, motivation isn't linear, right? But you've got that pressure on you as an influencer, because you get messages every day that say, oh my God, I can't believe your mindset, whatever. You've kind of got this thing in your head that says, come on, like, these guys need it. Let's do it for them. And then, when it comes, I don't know what it's going to be like this year, but when it comes to this pro card run, it's not me going for the pro card. It's 38,000 people saying I'm going to get that pro card. And if I don't get that, and I've got 38,000 people saying I'm going to get it, it's like, the pressure is going to be real this year, and I've got to try and separate myself from it as much as possible, obviously. But I can already feel that pressure mounting closer and closer I get to that season, this in 2021. So there's pressure, but it's part of the job, right? It's with the job title.
Yeah, exactly. It's like anybody in social media, like they have to be, first of all, careful what they put on. Like you probably might have seen it or might not. There was a lad from up in Newcastle who just recently got exposed for racism and stuff. But he was a big, it's crazy, like just how your life can change like that if you're not careful about it. But then there's also the pressure, like you said, to perform and also to put out content constantly. Like if you go like blank, like on your Instagram or YouTube and stuff for like a week, people are gonna be like, "What's happened to Josh? Like, is he all right?"
Yeah.
So do you ever feel like? Do you ever feel like you're like, nah, I need like a few days off here. I need to like stop doing this, or like I feel like giving up something. Have you ever had little moments like that where you do feel?
Yeah, definitely, man. I think December last year, I really hit like a wall, like a really, really big wall. I started prepping in May, just before body part, even before that. So I started prepping April. And obviously it was my first year using anabolics. So I had this pressure of like, this is, I'm going to be a pro this year because I've got anabolics in me, which obviously didn't happen. And I pushed really hard with content. I pushed really hard with my business, and it kind of came to December, and I kind of checked out. I checked out literally for the whole of December. I was very lucky in the fact that most people had checked out because it's Christmas time, but I was just, just whatever, post here, post there, missed like 3-4 days in a row, something that I'd never do, and I was just mentally tired. I couldn't think of posts. I couldn't think of going into a gym and training. I hit that brick wall, and I just. I realized at the end of because I went on holiday at the same time, I realized that by the end of that holiday that I needed to find a much better balance because I'd been on full throttle for the entire year. I pushed so hard, obviously pushed drugs up. I then said to myself, right, competition's over. I need to capitalize on this rebound so I get really, really healthy, get this, get that. And I pushed from, October till December again. So I didn't have a day off for like, 9 months or something. I was just on it, like on fire, brain on fire. And then it just stopped one day. And I was just like, why can't I think of anything? And I'll be there with my phone out on Instagram, like, no, I can't think of anything. I'll just turn it off again. So I just, I needed to find a better balance, which I wanted to find this year, but now we've had quarantine. I've not had a chance to kind of back off. So it's, I feel good at bettering myself this year.
Good,
and like, even with competing, dude, like no champion, no person has ever not doubted themselves. Every single champion, every single Ronaldo, Messi, at one point they would have said to themselves, I can't do this. And that's what makes them great, right? So for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned something like that about doubting yourself in terms of like not being creative. I think it was your last podcast I listened to, and about like not doubting yourself in terms of creating content and stuff and creating Instagram. Like you don't feel like you are creative yet. You've created this. You've got your brand, obviously. One more rep. You've got your like social media and everything kind of thing. You obviously are creative, but you were on about saying like everyone doubts themselves until they kind of get that break or maybe something goes well for them kind of thing. Do you still have doubts in yourself now in terms of stuff like that?
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%, man. I think it's just like human in it. What's the word? Human nature to compare yourself to other people, and like for me, like the people that I'm around, they're great and they're amazing at what they do. Like I can't help but, I don't give a shit to say their name. I can't help but think Bridgman's a pro, and I'm like, fuck, I just want to be, like he's one above me. I can't help but look at Tom's content and be like, that content is perfect. Like that's what I want. I can't help but compare myself to those people. So I'm not saying that I'm putting myself down next to them. It's just that doubt comes in my head. I'm like, how come he does that better? How come he's done this better? It's normal. It's how you get better. It's, you look at someone who's doing better and you think, oh, that's really, really good. I can't do that. Why do people follow me for this if they've got that? For example, the member site, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to bring a member site, and I thought, I can't bring a member site because everyone's got one. Why would they come to my one if they've got that one? And that's not how it works, because people subscribe to me for me, right? And for a very long time, for a good few weeks, I was just like, no, I'm not even gonna build a website. There's no need for me to do that because they'll just go to Tom's, they'll just go to JP's, they'll just go to AJ's. But that's not how people think. Like people follow me who don't follow them, right? So it's
exactly.
It's self-doubt is normal. Self-doubt is key to do the opposite of that, right? You need self-doubt in order to feel self-confidence at some point.
Yeah, exactly. And also, if you don't like you're on about the member site, if you don't go and try it, then you're never going to know, are you? It's always going to be in the back of your mind. Like, I could have had this, like you're on about, you could have been a professional footballer. Like, well, go and try and be one and see what happens. If you really want it that bad, just go out and do it. Yeah, but then, like, obviously, then it comes back to the thing about worrying about copying people, but you're going to bring your own value, and you've got followers that obviously don't follow them. They might also follow them, but they might also come to yours because you've got a different angle on things. Like, not everybody's going to be the same. It's like with my podcast, I've seen a few, like even in Newcastle, we've got quite a good few small influencers, like between 1,000 to 10,000 followers on whatever. Like they've started doing a little bit more, and then that's kind of pushed me like, right, I'm behind them, but I want to get to the same level. So I'm started podcast, YouTube and stuff. And then you never know what could happen. You could one day things could kick off, but
yeah, man.
Last little thing, and then obviously I don't want to leave you too long, but we're talking a little bit about bodybuilding, because obviously the mindset in terms of bodybuilding, especially when it comes to prep, is like, I have massive respect for anybody who kind of goes down that route, and obviously with yourself going to the quote unquote dark side, as they call it. But what is your mindset in terms of, first of all, taking that kind of leap in terms of bodybuilding? Because obviously, you probably agree with me in terms of, to get to the top level, like where you want to get to, which is Olympia, you probably do need to push down that route, but also knowing the side effects of what it has as well. Just to talk a little bit about that, and also like people have so many misconceptions of steroids and stuff as well, which I think a lot of people need to clear up.
For sure, man. So it is a big decision. I think what people tend to miss, I don't know if they tend to miss it, but what people tend to miss is that the moment that you do take something could be the moment that you don't come back normally. You know, is that chance big? Probably not, right? It's probably a small chance. But I can't tell you how many stories of kids I've heard who just use Anavar when they were 18 to try and get a little bit leaner, who now have just weirdly low testosterone. That doesn't make sense, because you're 22 years old, 23 years old, and you should be in the prime of your life. Is that from Anavar? I don't know, but the coincidences seem a little bit too much. I think another thing is if you are going to take it for bodybuilding, you are not going to do one cycle. It doesn't work like that, right? You're going to do one. Oh my God, it looks so good. You're going to come off, and then you're going to be a little bit worse. And then you're going to want to get better again, right? And if you're competing, you're doing it to get better each time. So no doubt you're pushing a little bit more each time. And each time that you push, each time that you use, the further and further away you get back from being able to be normal again and be able to never use it again. I've been doing this for 2 years. I may have to inject myself every single week for the rest of my life. I'm only 27. I've got 50, fingers crossed. I've got 50 years I've got to inject myself or use testosterone cream or whatever it is, potentially. And that's something that people just don't think about. Like, if you're doing this to bodybuild, you're not competing one season. You're doing 2, 3, 4 seasons. If you're going to be a pro, it's 2 seasons. If you're going to be on the Olympia stage, it's 4 seasons. If you want to win the Olympia, it's 6 seasons. Bearing in mind you take a year out or whatever. That's 6 years that you're going to be using and potentially fucking yourself up hormonally. And for that short-term game, obviously it's a personal question, right? It's a moral question. If you're fine with it morally, sound, you do whatever you want as long as you don't hurt anyone else. For me, it just doesn't make sense, and people don't look at the long-term picture.
I know so many people that, I was going to say, like, because long-term you want to kind of be Mr. Olympia, hopefully. We'll get there one day, mate. But in terms of anybody who is like looking to start, because I've had like even just a few of my mates who I know, they're like, I'm debating starting this sort of thing. Like, I don't have any sort of knowledge in it at all. Like, I'll never take them just because obviously I'm sport background and stuff. But for anybody who takes, I have massive respect if you go down that route correctly. But I still get people ask me like, oh, take this, like, I want to take this. I'm like, even watching your videos, I know like that's not what you should be doing, kind of thing. Like, is there any what would you say to someone who is just thinking about doing it, whether it's for the right reasons or the wrong reasons?
I think you need to outsource unless you've done a hell of a lot of research. I've been doing this for 2 years, while I've been researching for 2 years, and I would say now, after those 2 years, is probably when I'd be confident enough to do it on my own. Right? That's 2 years later after using it with 2 years of researching it before. Like, I get these questions that say, like you, that just don't make sense. And if you're asking a question that doesn't make sense, you don't need to be anywhere near putting an injection in you. It's just crazy. Like, how much Arimidex, which is an anti-cancer drug, do I need to take per day to do this? I'm like, you don't want to take it at all at any point. You want to avoid that. But how you avoid that is by this, and this, and then monitoring this. And they're like, I don't know what that is. And I'm like, well, why are we having this conversation? It's very, very difficult, right? But the foundation here has got to be blood work. It's got to be blood work, because we have the ability to show you what is happening in your body and to tell you if you are fucking yourself up or not. We can literally read that off a piece of paper. So do it. Otherwise you're reading a book with your eyes closed. It doesn't make sense. And people are scared of paying £150 for a test, but they'll put £150 worth of test in them.
I know,
so it's I don't know, it's difficult. You got to educate as much as you can. There's some really, really good educators in the field: Joe Jeffrey, Dr. Dean, Callum from the Muscle Mentors, Luke from the Muscle Mentors. I outsourced it. I knew I was not equipped to do this on my own. I knew I needed a team around me. So I have Cal, I have Dr. Dean, and they'll consult me on every single time I make any decision. And I pay a lot of money for it. You know, like I pay a lot of money for that service, and it's just
Yeah.
what people are afraid of. And I can appreciate why. It's a very daunting thing, and I can appreciate why taking a little Anavar pill is a lot more appealing than just, you know, going the full way. But you got your due diligence to educate yourself. You're not just going to affect you. You're going to affect your family. You're going to affect your parents. You're going to affect your wife. If you suddenly have heart disease at 40 years old because you smashed trend for 2 years in a row, do you know what I mean? Like, you got to be considerate of everyone. And, you know, if you want kids, you've got to be considerate of that as well.
Yeah, I know. People don't think about the big picture until they literally think like, all right, I'm going to take this, that, and the other for Ibiza in 6 weeks' time. That's all they think about. They don't think about the after effect and stuff. When everybody asks me, I say, like I said, I don't really know a lot, but I say blood work, and also go and speak to someone like a coach. Hire yourself a coach if you're going to, because at the end of the day, it's your body and your health. So it's do you want to live until you're 50, like you're on about, or more than 50, hopefully 70, 80, have kids, have a family and stuff like that. So you got to think about that long term. So just wanted to quickly touch on that. So we'll finish off, because we've been on for quite a bit. 3 little questions that I've been asking everybody on my podcast. I don't know if you've had a little look at them just right at the end.
Yeah, I did. I did have them up a minute ago.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of fun at the end. So 3 people you would like to invite round for dinner, coffee, just 3 people you'd like to meet in general.
C-Bum's up there for sure.
Yeah.
I would love to I don't even need to train with him. I'd love to just kick it with him, play a little bit of COD or whatever, just chill out.
Yeah.
That'd be really, really cool. I'd love to ask him about his like teens when he first started training, and just that initial like 2 years that he started training, because he went from like super skinny tall dude to just unbelievable. And I'd love to know what gear he ran, to be honest, right at the start, and how long he's been on.
Yeah, first question, what gear you're on?
I'm like, so then, Chris, what gear are you on? Arnold, I would love to speak to Arnold. I think he's got a lot more to offer than just bodybuilding, but obviously I love the bodybuilding side of it. It'd be really, really cool to have a deep conversation with him. And probably like Joe Rogan or something like that. Just get on a 3-4 hour bender with him and just see what he has to talk about life, and just it'd be cool. I've got a lot of things I'd like to talk about. Yeah, he's
got so much knowledge about literally everything. Like, I don't know how he has the time to learn all this stuff. Like, you hear him on podcasts with like some scientists to do with neurochemistry or something. Then he's talking to like Ronnie Coleman the other day. He's talking about bodybuilding and stuff like that. It's crazy.
It's so impressive. I love his mindset to life. So it'd be good to.
Yeah, he's great. His training looks brutal as well. I've seen a few videos of his training.
Yeah, he's a beast. He's a beast.
And then the second question: 3 people you'd want to train with.
I'm going to be repetitive and put C-Bum again, because I just think it would be epic. Yeah. I think it would be good. I'd love to have trained with Ronnie back in the day as well. Don't get me wrong. I don't agree with all the training he does. I don't agree with like you can see what he's like now, and he's actually brutalized from his training. But just to be in the atmosphere of, yeah, buddy, just
lightweight.
Yep, it would be. Oh God. Like, come on, one mile. It'd be so good, so good. And then Dorian again for the exact same thing, like the intensity. Yeah. But obviously that coincides with what I do right now, the high intensity training. So that'd be amazing.
Yeah, his training's changed massively now, because he's proper. I don't know who I was talking to about it, but he's a proper like he's vegan now. He's a yogi now. Yeah, he does all that. Which I think you probably at one point you can't just like keep smashing heavy weights and stuff around for the rest of your life.
You got to reverse the damage that he's done, right?
Yeah, 100%. And then the last little question is one thing that you'd say to yourself 5 years ago.
Are you going to do it?
Yeah.
Are you going to do it? You're going to do what's in your head. It's going to work. And here I am.
It's simple, mate. I know. Just plan, execute, and just keep going with it. Perfect. So what are your kind of plans for future? Obviously, I know you want to push for the Olympia and stuff, bodybuilding wise. So business wise as well, what's your plans?
Yeah, I just want to grow the audience, grow the movement. Hopefully, have some seriously educated motherfuckers out there, which would be really nice. And just be a big movement in the industry, right? I want it to be a household name in every gym. I want One Amar to be a movement. I want that to be the mindset that people have. And I want to teach people the right things about health and fitness.
Perfect, mate. No, spot on. It's been a pleasure having you on, mate. Thank you for taking the time out of your day. So hopefully the podcast will be up in a few weeks, but thank you very much, mate.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers.